grew up fatherless and motherless in a court where all recognized me as a catalyst. And catalyst I became.
Most fantasy books are like summer blockbusters. You're thrilled for a few hours, you enjoy the adventure, the magic, the clash of swords. And a week later, you've forgotten half the plot. They're fun, but they're disposable. Some books, however, they're different. They don't just entertain you, they get under your skin. They're less like stories and more like slow-acting infections, lingering in your thoughts long after you've turned the final page. They leave a mark. Robin Hobb's Assassin's Apprentice is one of those books. And it's not just because it's a good story. It's because it was a quiet revolution. To understand why this book feels so profound, so deeply and sometimes painfully human, you first have to remember what mainstream fantasy looked like in 1995. All right, cast your mind back to the mid-90s. The fantasy bestseller lists were dominated by grand quests. The archetypes were clear. The farm boy with a hidden destiny, the wise old mentor, or the fellowship of heroes setting out to defeat a singular, unambiguous Dark Lord. The lines between good and evil were drawn sharply, and adventure was the engine of the story. And into that world, Robin Hobb doesn't give us a hero. She gives us Fitz. He isn't a chosen one. He isn't even a hero in waiting. He's a liminal being, a person who exists on a threshold, belonging fully to nowhere. As the bastard son of a prince, he's dropped at the castle gates and immediately becomes a problem to be managed. He's royal enough to be political threat, but not legitimate enough to be loved. He lives in the stables, caught between the world of servants and the world of nobles, a ghost in his own home. His first real connection isn't with a person, but with a puppy named Nosy. And when a magical bond is discovered, it isn't celebrated. It's treated like a disease. The pup is taken away and the bond is brutally severed by his caretaker, Burrich. This is Fitz's first and most important lesson. Connection equals pain. Love leads to loss. This one act of cruelty becomes the foundational trauma that will echo through his entire life, defining his inability to trust and his deep, pervasive loneliness. And Hobb takes her time showing us this loneliness. In a genre often defined by relentless pacing, she dedicates entire chapters to the quiet, mundane moments of Fitz's life. We watch him muck out stalls, learn to scribe, or simply sit through a lonely meal in the castle kitchens. This slice of life pacing is a deliberate, revolutionary choice. It grounds us completely in Fitz's reality. We feel the texture of his days. It's filled with the smells of the stable, the chills of the stone walls, and the sting of a callous word. His character isn't forged in a single moment of destiny, but built slowly, brick by brick, through these everyday experiences. It makes the eventual bursts of political intrigue and violence feel all the more jarring and real because they are an intrusion into a life we've come to know so intimately. So what does this boy, who has every reason to crave power and revenge, actually want? Not a throne. Not glory. He yearns for the one thing he can never have. A normal life. Anonymity. The simple warmth of a relationship with Molly, the candlemaker's daughter. This creates the central agonizing conflict of the entire series. Duty versus desire. Every step he is forced to take in service to the crown is a step away from a simple happiness he craves. He is a protagonist defined not by his ambition, but by the constant painful sacrifice of it. Fitz's foundational trauma, the loss of his first bond, is rooted in one of the book's two magic systems. And in Hobb's world, magic isn't just a tool for fighting monsters. It's a stark reflection of the social class and the politics of identity. First, there is the skill. This is the magic of the nobility. It's a telepathic power passed down through the royal bloodline. It's a tool of command, strategy, and institutional control. The skill is respected, even when it's feared. But the skill has a darker, more seductive side. It offers a euphoric, addictive escape, a merging of minds that can feel better than reality. It's a power that doesn't just corrupt through force, but through pleasure, promising connection while threatening to consume its user's very identity. And this potential for abuse is given a human face in the character of Galen, the royal skillmaster. Galen is the embodiment of institutional power used for petty personal cruelty. Driven by jealousy and a deep-seated contempt for Fitz's bastard blood, he becomes Fitz's personal tormentor. During their lessons, he doesn't just teach, he actively assaults. He sabotages Fitz's training, building mental walls and inflicting psychological pain under the guise of instruction. Through Galen, the danger of the skill becomes terrifyingly concrete. It's no longer just an abstract magic system. It's a weapon being actively used by a teacher against a student. It's a tool of oppression wielded by a man who represents the very worst of the court's prejudice and arrogance. And then there's the wit. This is the magic of the common folk, a telepathic bond with animals. The wit cannot be neatly inherited or controlled by the ruling class. It's democratic, appearing randomly throughout the population. And that's precisely why it's hated. The wit is wild magic. It's a connection in nature that polite society deems to be an unnatural perversion. And this is where Hobb's writing elevates from fantasy to sharp social commentary. Let's go back to Burrich, the man who took away Fitz's dog. This cruelty is given a devastating new layer when you realize he is witted himself. His violence isn't simple malice. It's a tragic, brutal form of internalized oppression. He hates this part of himself so profoundly that he seeks to destroy it in the boy he is raising, perpetuating the very prejudice that has wounded him. Through this, Fitz learns that a core part of his own nature is something to be ashamed of. His magic isn't a gift to be honed, but a stain to be hidden. He develops an identity in shame. But there is one character who offers a different path for the outsider. The Fool. The King's Jester is an enigma. Prophetic, mysterious, and gender fluid, the Fool exists outside of every social category. And here's the crucial difference. While Fitz is an outsider who is desperate to find a place to belong, the Fool is an outsider who seems to embrace their otherness. They turn their unique perspective into a source of profound wisdom and uncanny power. The cryptic, evolving relationship between Fitz and the Fool becomes one of the most compelling parts of the series, constantly challenging Fitz to question his assumptions about identity, fate, and belonging. The internal politics of identity is mirrored perfectly in the external politics of the royal court. The 6 duchies are threatened by the terrifying Red Ship Raiders, but Hobb makes it clear that the true danger isn't just coming from outside the walls. The rot is coming from within the Farseer family itself. And while that internal rot festers, the kingdom is bleeding from 1,000 cuts inflicted by these marauders. But they're not ordinary pirates. They don't raid for gold or for land. Their goal is something far more insidious. See, they practice a form of psychological terrorism called forging. They take hostages from coastal towns and then weeks later return them. But the people who come back are empty. See, forging is a process that strips a person of everything that makes them human. Their memories, their emotions, their capacity for love, and their very soul. What's left is a hollow animalistic husk, driven only by base instinct and ravenous hunger. This is the true horror facing the 6 duchies. It's not a war of conquest, it's a war of dehumanization. The kingdom isn't just losing its people. It's forced to hunt down and kill these forged ones, who were once friends, their spouses, and their children. There is no cure or redemption. Only death offers release. It's a conflict designed to break a kingdom's spirit. And this existential threat is what gives the actions of the royal family such desperate weight. This is the enemy that Prince Verity is pouring his life force into the skill to fight. And this is the crisis that drives a pragmatic king like King Shrewd to a terrible conclusion. That in a war this dirty, he needs a secret disposable weapon. He needs an assassin. He needs Fitz. Now, King Shrewd, as his name suggests, he's a master of political maneuvering. But Hobb shows us his shrewdness as king comes at the cost of his humanity as a father. He's a master manipulator, but a catastrophic failure as a patriarch. He enables the worst impulses of his youngest son, Regal, while keeping his other sons at an emotional distance. This parental neglect creates the very instability and rivalry that threatens to tear his kingdom apart. In stark contrast stands Prince Verity. He's the embodiment of selfless duty. While others play politics, Verity pours his own life force into the skill, fighting that lonely, invisible war against the raiders. We see him physically waste away, his body deteriorating under the immense strain. He is a living symbol of the true brutal cost of responsible leadership. His genuine kindness to Fitz, treating him not as an asset but as family, is a small beacon of light in a court consumed by shadow. And at the heart of the shadow is Prince Regal. Hobb doesn't write him as a grand, calculating villain. He's something far more recognizable and pathetic. A man consumed by the raging insecurity of unearned privilege. He has status, wealth, and legitimacy, but no genuine merit. His hatred for Fitz isn't just about a claim to the throne. It's the resentment of someone who, on some level, knows his own worthlessness. His ambition isn't to build or lead. It's simply to spoil and to take what he feels he's owed. The fact that he is so profoundly threatened by a powerless, lonely bastard says everything about his own character. He is the rot at the core of the family, and the greatest threat to the kingdom. So we have this broken hero, these complex magic systems, and this dysfunctional family. But what makes it all feel so intensely real is how Hobb chooses to tell her story. This is where we see the quiet revolution in her craft. Many fantasy novels build their worlds through exposition. We have long passages of history, detailed maps, and even massive appendices. Hobb rejects this entirely. She builds her world through a keyhole, trusting the reader to piece it together. Think about how we learn about Fitz's father, the noble Prince Chivalry. There aren't any flashbacks or history lessons. We assemble our image of him entirely from fragments reflected in the eyes of others. The deep love and respect in Verity's voice, the bitter jealousy from Regal, the lingering loyalty of the men he once commanded. The world isn't told to us. It's revealed through the people who inhabit it. And there's no better symbol for this method than Chade Falstar, Fitz's mentor in assassination. He's literally the man in the walls. Scarred and secretive, he lives in the hidden passages of Buckkeep Castle, moving like a ghost through the kingdom's subconscious. He embodies the secret histories and the dark moral compromises that hold the kingdom together. Training Fitz isn't just about poisons and politics. It's a slow, methodical reveal of the castle's secret underbelly. Chade gives Fitz information only when it's absolutely necessary, instead teaching him to see the world as he does, a place of surfaces and hidden depths. A perfect example of this craft in action is Fitz's first major assignment, a secret mission to the Mountain Kingdom to assassinate Prince Rorisk, who's believed to be a threat to a critical political marriage. On the surface, it's a classic assassin story, but Hobb immediately complicates it. The intelligence comes from the manipulative Prince Regal. The order is sanctioned by the pragmatic King Shrewd. Fitz isn't a confident killer. He's a nervous, uncertain pawn being moved by forces far more powerful than he is. And then Hobb completely subverts the trope. There's no slick, silent kill. Instead, the entire mission is compromised when a drunken Regal carelessly brags about the plot, and the situation devolves into a clumsy public mess. This failed mission is brilliant storytelling. It's not about making Fitz look cool. It's about showing his vulnerability in the messy reality of espionage. It reinforces that this is a story grounded in psychological realism, not a power fantasy. All of this, the characters, the politics, the world building, is then filtered through the final crucial layer of Hobb's craft, the first-person retrospective narration. This isn't a story happening in real time. It's an old man reliving the traumas of his youth. And because we now understand the pain of the wit, the betrayals of his family, and the crushing weight of his duty, hearing it all recounted by an older Fitz, his voice tinged with weary resignation and the sorrow of hindsight, it's devastating. It creates a profound sense of melancholy that hangs over every page. We're not just on an adventure. We're bearing witness to a memory of pain. So when you put all these pieces together, what do you have? You have a protagonist defined by trauma, not by destiny. You have magic systems that serve as sharp social commentary. You have a political thriller that is, at its heart, a tragic family drama. And you have a narrative that values psychological realism above all else. This is why Assassin's Apprentice was a quiet revolution. It wasn't a blockbuster filled with explosive battles and clear-cut victories. It was a character-driven novel that trusted its readers to have the patience for something deeper. It proved that the most compelling conflicts aren't always fought with swords against enemies, but with secrets and sacrifices inside the walls of a castle, and inside of a young boy's heart. The legacy of this book is immense. It helped pave the way for character-focused, psychologically complex fantasies for years to follow, demonstrating that readers were hungry for stories that examine the cost of heroism and the messy, often painful truth of what it means to be human. Robin Hobb didn't just write a book. She gave the genre permission to grow up. So, is Assassin's Apprentice for you? If you're looking for fast-paced action and triumphant heroes, probably not. But if you want a book that will haunt you, one that will explore the real messy core of what it means to be human, with all of its pain and quiet beauty, this is it. It demands patience, but the reward is a story that will live in your head for months, maybe even years to come. Now I want to hear from you. What is that one book for you? The one that got under your skin and never really left? Let me know in the comments. I want to talk more about the stories that leave a scar. Now, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends, family, and even your enemies. Just no marauders. And of course, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, because every subscriber inches me one step closer to taking over the galaxies. Until next time, take care, keep reading, and I'll see you in the next one.